It lives 50 feet beneath the streets. It's 36 feet long. It weighs over 2,000 pounds. And it's about to break out.
You're looking at the one who saw it. And it was big.
You said it was dark. Now, perhaps you were mistaken.
No one believed it. Now, no one will forget it. Alligator.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast That Wouldn't Die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hey.
This week, we'll be discussing the horror classic Alligator, starring Robert Forster and
some
others.
People you may recognize from 70s television.
Henry Silva is in there.
Henry Silva from Sharky's Machine.
Yeah, exactly.
And
From the other classic, Burt Reynolds. Good Lord.
And apparently the Manchurian Candidate. Apparently it was like in real films too.
He was, well, allegedly. He was kind of a tertiary member of the Rat Pack, if you want to go deep. He was in Ocean's 11 with Frank Sinatra.
Which is fascinating.
Yep.
I always thought he was Asian. Spanish Sicilian.
Well, Silva's is a Hispanic name.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but sometimes Asian people marry Anglo people, and then they get that last name.
I did not know that.
But to me, I always thought he was Asian. He's very exotic looking.
He is indeed. But this is not the Henry Silva retrospective.
It's
podcast.
all Henry Silva.
All the time.
It's the Henry Silva podcast.
Give us your 30-second synopsis of Alligator.
Alligators are dangerous. Kid buys an alligator. Drunk father flushes it down to the toilet. Scientists experimenting on growing giant animals. Alligator eats dead animals with whatever juices inside of them, causing said gator to grow large and terrorize what is supposed to be Chicago, but looks like LA.
Right. I don't know. Do they ever actually say the word Chicago? I
swear to you, somewhere in this, it says Chicago.
Am I crazy? Like, is this St. Louis? No, it doesn't. It's Big City X.
Big City. Well, at one point, they had to have been in Florida.
Yes.
Unless Chicago or Big City X has gator farms.
No, I think you're right. I think the beginning starts out with them visiting a gator farm in Florida. And that's where which we got to talk about that. Like at their gator exhibition, some dude gets attacked by the gator. Like his bottom, like bit on the leg. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? By the way, kids, you can buy your gator at the concession stand on your way. It's like, really? I'm gonna buy an alligator after I just watched somebody mauled?
Doodle doo. You used to be able to order them out of the back of Boys Life magazine, along with your sea monkeys and your X-ray specs.
and let's be clear, this is a baby alligator, which is about 4 inches long or something at this point. So
back in the day, it was a thing, and then that was what our mother always said: they grow.
Of course.
And of course, it's not the American alligator that you buy at Boys Life magazine. It's like, what do they call them? Like a caiman or something?
Right.
They still get fairly big.
They still get big. Yes.
Yeah. You don't have an aquarium that size. And so then it was like living in the bathtubs. But this is always like a 70s ghost story about the alligators in the sewer.
Correct. So when did you ever even heard of this movie? Just me telling you to watch it?
When it came out of your mouth. It has the quality of a made-for-TV movie.
I'm gonna blow your mind on many levels over the course of this. But I had as always, which is the case, I've watched a million of these kind of the best horror movies of the 80s or the 70s or the greatest horror movies you've never seen. There's one I always like to watch, which is called Terror in the Isles. And they had scenes from the immortal classic Alligator in it. And I'd always been kind of, I don't know, morbidly curious about it. So, but this is the first time I'd ever seen it all the way through.
And I think the date is like 1980. It's later than I thought.
Right. Well, this is what's funny. Like we said, Robert Forster plays the detective trying to solve the grisly murders in the sewer, essentially. And this is post Black Hole, where he wasn't. I mean,
Black Hole? What is Black Hole?
You don't remember the Disney movie, The Black Hole, with Anthony Perkins, Maximilian Schell, Ernest Borgnine? You never saw The Black Hole?
I've heard of the Black Cauldron.
It was one of the first. Now we're going off on a.
I heard of Blackula.
So the Black Hole was one of the first, but it had like an all-star cast, and it takes place in
I don't
space.
even know what you're talking about.
Roddy McDowall was the voice of one of the robots. Robert Forster was like the captain of the USS Palomino, but he was the star of the movie. He was the lead, in this all-star cast.
It's like you're just making this whole story
I swear
up.
I'm not making it up at all. So that was kind of how I knew him until Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown is how I know him.
He kind of had a little flair in the late 70s, and then was kind of, day player on The Fall Guy throughout the 80s. You know what I mean?
Now I am familiar with The Fall Guy, although not a big fan of the Bionic Man, but
no, I mean he was literally by 86 he was the Arab terrorist in Delta Force with Chuck Norris. I'm giving you the full Robert Forster.
Oh my God, you're such a guy.
Yes.
So many bullshit movies that I have never seen nor desired to see that are all on your top 10 list.
Top 10 all the way. It wasn't until Jackie Brown that kind of put him back in the spotlight.
And he won the Academy Award, didn't he?
I believe he was nominated. I don't know if he won.
Because he was dynamite.
He's great. He's great.
I've been to that mall. I used to go to that mall back in the day. The Delamo Mall. And I was like, Jackie Brown.
you just say that to people you pass.
Jackie Brown. It's in Torrance.
Lovely Torrance.
Yeah.
So I'd heard of this movie. I had not seen it all the way through. But I was kind of intrigued by it in kind of a perverse way. So let's jump right in.
Now, I'm going to clip back over because this is kind of late in the game, but like during the 70s, there was all these eco concerns about nuclear radiation, chemicals in the water that all produce the prophecy and giant frogs, giant bugs.
Yeah.
About, it's like a flashback from the 50s with they were doing the same thing then.
Giant critters are on the loose.
Because we're messy and corporations are bad. So obviously none of this stuff matters because here we are again destroying our Earth. None of this stuff matters. It all just comes back every 20 years. So everybody gets concerned and wrings their hands, and then they promptly forget about it. And it starts up again.
We need another sequel to Alligator, I think,
It's just like Black Lives Matter. After Rodney King, everybody's like, we got to do something, and nobody does anything.
Well, I think people try, but they fail because there's always resistance.
Never accomplished, and everything seems to be going just fine, and then everybody backslides, and then here we are again. Nothing changes.
It's true.
And then, 20 years from now, it'll be like, what are we going to do?
This has become the activism podcast now. It is true. It is true. Shall we talk about the movie? Let's do highlights.
Is there more to say?
There's much. There is much. I've got a page of notes here.
Well, yeah, I've got a page of notes. Now, other movies, I've had half a pages, and some I've had 3 pages.
That that is true. There are some. I think there's at least one we did where I had like 2 notes, and I'm like, "Are we sure we're doing this one?" Because there ain't much to say.
Exactly.
Okay. So they buy the crate. The little girl wants to buy the alligator at the alligator farm, and they
And now, is this little girl the scientist later
yes,
on?
yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure. And her gator's name was Ramon.
Ramon. That's right.
And in the background at Robert Forster's house, there's some art prints by someone named Ramon. And for some reason, you just see the name Ramon.
Yes.
Right behind his head the whole time.
Not a coincidence.
Oh, Lord.
Not a coincidence.
Ridiculous. She thinks she's making love with her gator.
She's hoping. She closes her eyes and thinks of the gator. Okay. So she has this little, again, like 4 inches long. And then the dad comes home from work drunkenly and angrily just flushes it. It was the most bizarre.
It was like, why did you buy it for her?
Right. It
was like tiny. What was the point of buying it, old crazy drunk dad, if
right.
you're then gonna just flush it down the toilet?
She doesn't take care of it. She doesn't clean its tank. I'm flushing it. Honey, no.
Oh my God. Have you ever thought of flushing your dogs down the toilet? Damn, kids don't walk them.
Not the dogs. I just put them in the sewer for the gators to get them. Very sad. I love how from Jump we meet Robert Forster, and it's like everybody is talking to him about his hairline.
Oh my God.
It's nonstop hairline
I did
talk.
That. It is all. But if you just potted it along, you can bring it across. Right. No one will notice.
I love it. It's literally that thing because his hair is thinning. So he's at the pet shop, and the bald pet shop guy is like, "Hey, I feel the same way." Like volunteers. It's like what the? And his reaction every time somebody talks to him is just like, "What the?"
Yeah, the pet shop dude just has some scrapples around the top. It's not even a Trump comb over. It's just some scraps, like he's some kind of Roman centurion or something where they brushed it down.
Yeah,
it was a mess.
It's the ruins of a once proud civilization of hair.
And I like the fact that he had to lay it down with his girlfriend and like, you're not going to talk about my hairline.
Because it's literally 5 different people that he's talking to. It's like, let's talk about the case. That's fine. Let me first talk about your hair. It's like, what the? Thanks for nothing. Good Lord. So I'm trying to understand. He goes to the pet shop because his dog disappeared.
Right.
Right.
And then asked how to take care of dogs.
Right.
And then did we ever see the dog again?
I don't think so. So he's not a good pet owner. Clearly. The dog just ran away from neglect. He was like, I'm out of here. But it's like his dog is like, my dog disappeared last Tuesday. Why don't I just buy a new dog? Give it a chance. Put in some flyers or something.
Dude, I when studied art history with this dude, his mom would poison the dogs. If you didn't take care of the dogs, or she'd get pissed off. He told me his mom poisoned the dogs.
Okay, that's called psychopath.
Is that crazy? I've often wondered if I ever ran into that dude again and be like, "So what's your mom doing these days?" I was like, "What?"
That's not normal behavior. That's what Jeffrey Dahmer does.
Exactly. I'm like, fascinating.
Tell me more.
Tell me more about your batshit crazy mom. Do you have any stepfathers that disappeared or had mysterious illnesses?
Exactly.
Am I going to see this shit on the news?
Any missing transients in the area?
Good
Lord. So what they're finding like body parts at like the water treatment plant? Is that what kicks off the investigation?
Like one.
They found like a hand or something. That's what it was.
And they found an arm here. They find body parts here in our local park because it comes in from the Kern River. They don't stop everything. Yeah.
Wait a minute. You live in Baco.
Yeah.
This is Baker. So you're telling me there's the Bakersfield butcher is roaming the streets and no one asks questions?
No, it's Bakersfield idiocies where there's 1,000 signs that say, don't go into the river, stay alive. And of course, nobody listens. So there's a sacrifice to the Kern River god every year. And half the time they can't find the people. And every so often, like a part of them will show up in the local park because the river kind of, like a part of it suctions off and kind of goes through a bit of town and through one of the parks. And every now and then in the trap, you'll see a bit of somebody who disappeared the year before.
Oh God, this is a horrible, horrible story.
And
So
every time I see people out there getting their prom pictures, I'm always like, is there a corpse floating behind you?
there may well be.
May well be. Yeah, during summer, one person disappears a week.
Oh my God.
There's a sign every 3 feet, don't go into the river. It's too fast moving, it sucks you under, don't go into the river. And everybody's like, another person.
So, but they don't go, I mean, presumably they're with their family and friends when they go swimming, right? Or is it just suicide? They're just like, I'm going in by myself.
And it's not just like kids who get away. People think they can handle it, or they float down in an inner tube and the inner tube capsizes. The river is very fast. When the water's high, the river's really fast if there's been a lot of snow. But this is how I almost drowned too.
So you jumped in the water too?
This was up in Humboldt, like right before graduation. And people were floating down in inner tubes. It was like 90 degrees, but the water is snow melt, so it was freshing. So we decided to hop in the river and float down without inner tubes, except after about 5 minutes, I got sucked under. And it was so deep, I couldn't, you think you'd touch bottom and kick up. I was literally suspended in like space where I could see the light above me, but if I put my hand up, I couldn't break through. And my feet could not touch the bottom.
Oh my God.
I was down to my last breath when somehow I got past whatever was going on and popped back up. But I was about there. I was about there.
Sweet Jesus.
And the same thing happened to my friend. My friends didn't get sucked under, but they got pushed to the wrong side of the river. And so I was coming up to some rapids when I first popped up because the water was moving fast. So I grabbed this rock and I just kind of hung on to it for a while, managed to inch myself to the wrong side of the river. Eventually, a boat came by and we were able to flag someone down and they took us back to the other side. My friends were like, we're going to have to call your mom. We thought you were gone. We were looking on the edge of the river to see if we could find you. They're like, crap.
Another one bites the dust.
Another one bites the dust. Boom. That's what you get for being dumb.
This is sad but true. Let's get back to the show. So they're finding limbs in the water treatment plant, and I love how Robert Forster literally just handles it.
It was like an arm.
It picks up with his bare hand to look at it.
It's so nasty.
What the? Number one, that's gross. Number two, that's not what they do on CSI. People wear gloves. There's nothing of this. Let me just handle this. Interesting. An old arm.
It was
Good
different.
Lord.
It was a different time, but still, it was one arm and some dead dogs. It brought the whole city to a screeching halt.
Right. Well, this is Chicago. They don't have crimes there.
You just told me you weren't sure it was Chicago.
I don't know what it was. It could be St. Louis.
Why do you think it's St. Louis?
I read somewhere that they had Missouri plates on the cars, but that doesn't mean anything.
I don't know why I think it was Chicago.
I think it's supposed to be Chicago.
Okay.
I think it's supposed to be, but I don't think they actually...
Like Rumble in the Bronx that was filmed in Toronto?
Yes, exactly. So let me understand. The pet store guy also moonlights because he steals dogs from the neighborhoods for the experiments at the pharmaceutical company, right?
So what are the dogs at his pet store? Why doesn't he just sell those?
Those are purebred, I guess. I don't know.
That was a Muttley. That was not... Exactly. It just seems like it'd be easier just to breed dogs.
For this purpose. Right.
He's cruising neighborhoods, snatching pups.
Well, and I guess this means that he also stole Robert Forster's dog, probably.
By all means. Your dog goes missing in Chicago. It must be Sketchy McSketcherson.
Right. So he steals the dogs for their illegal experiments. And then when they're done with the experiments, he takes their
But are they
corpses.
illegal? They
They-
experiment on animals all the time. The illegal part is still in the animals.
That's what it is. It's because he gets interviewed by Robert Forster, like the chief scientist or whatever. He's like, yeah, we use like dogs from the pound or whatever for our experiments. That's
yeah,
totally
so why
legal.
don't they just do that?
But they said, well, what happens if there are no dogs in the pound? Oh, well, then we suspend our experiments.
There's
we know
no
is a
dogs
lie.
in the pound. Okay, in my
If we
town,
run out, they go through a lot of dogs for their
in
experimentation.
my town, there's endless. You could just, if I was the pet store owner, I could just drive around my school and just throw in chihuahuas and pit bulls and just stack them like cordwood.
Well, that's what he's doing. That's what he's doing.
But our pound is overflowing, so I'm pretty sure Chicago might be a little bigger.
Well, and I'm not sure. Is that cool too? It's like somebody like their dog goes missing. Like it gets
First
picked
of
up.
all, the pound is not going to give you the dogs if you're going to experiment.
It seems inhumane.
You can just buy dogs.
So.
And first of all, the whole premise of the experiment is ridiculous to begin with.
Right.
The reason they suspended the plan was it's always the pituitary gland, no matter
Right.
what it is in these things.
Of course.
They wanted to grow giant animals, but they suspended it because the metabolism also rose.
Right. They get hungry.
Who could imagine
Yes.
that a large animal will eat more than a small animal? that was never considered in all
It's
these
impossible.
weird experiments.
Inconceivable.
Inconceivable. Ridiculous.
So when they're done, the same pet store guy takes the corpses of the dogs and then dumps them in the sewer.
Why don't you just put them in the dumpster? Who wants to drive down into the sewer? And the
Right.
most ridiculous part is one doesn't make it in the water, so he climbs down to kick it over. Put him in the effing dumpster, for God's sake.
Put them in the dumpster. So
They're
that
already all wrapped up in plastic, so he literally opens each bag, which is
Yes.
ridiculous too.
well, I think on some level he's like, well, it looks better if they're not wrapped in plastic. Like maybe the dogs just wandered into the sewer on their own.
And,
the idea.
and dissected themselves.
And dissected themselves. Oh, sweet. They were depressed.
So that
Right.
was stupid. And then I wrote down when we first meet the head of the corporation, because it's always a corporation.
Yes.
Did you
Evil
notice
pharmacy.
at one point, like that old man was like drooling or something? Like when the first time that like there was a stream that was coming off, I was like, "What the hell?"
They do what they can. He was an older actor,
I thought he was having a stroke right there on screen.
He just read the script for the first time.
Oh
Very
my
upsetting.
God, it was weird. There was some moisture because he wipes his mouth at one point. I was like, "Ugh, ugh."
It happens. We'll all be there one day, God willing.
Yeah.
There you
God
go.
willing, I should be drooling. Go ahead.
God willing, you should be drooling. Good Lord. Okay, so when we're first introduced to the giant alligator that lives in the sewer, there is a total Jaws ripoff theme song. Did you know? It's like, did it.
I didn't even notice. I totally didn't even notice.
Well, and it's played the exact same way, where it's like the alligator's point of view coming up behind the pet store owner. It's a total rip. It is a rip.
Well, there's all kinds of
Jump Street.
rips going on here. Don't alligators need to see in the how is it out there cruising around in the pitch black? Because you keep seeing the eye winking. I mean, it didn't grow up in a cave like it's one of those white eyeless creatures. It needs to see, and it needs to eat food.
Well, that's what it's eating. It's eating, sewer workers, and it's eating all those crazy dogs that they throw into the sewer. I guess. So that's how.
Do alligators eat dead?
long.
Do alligators eat dead things? I thought like when they fed them chicken. Oh, maybe they do. Never mind. Whatever.
I don't think they have to throw live chicken in there. Because
now I remember like them like throwing chicken carcasses at some of these gator shows.
Well, I'm going to tell you a story. I went when I was in Florida.
I
We went to it was a miniature golf / gator farm.
Oh Lord.
Oh yeah, and you'd buy like a little thing of like gator chow, and you'd kind of dump it in there, and they'd eat it up. So they'll eat whatever, I guess. I'm not a reptologist or whatever. Is that what they're called? Herpetologist?
A herpetologist. That sounds like you study herpes.
It does. Oh.
I remember, speaking of feeding things, back in the old days, SeaWorld let you feed the walruses. But instead of like a long skinny fish, it was like this chopped up fillet. It was so disgusting. So fish juices running through your fingers, and then you drop it in the walrus tank.
Salmonella at its finest.
Exactly. Finger looking good.
Oh, God. So Robert Forster is going down into the sewer with the young hotshot rookie. Because there's some story where it's like his last partner died in mysterious circumstances. So now no one wants to work with him. Is that what it is?
I recognize that rookie. Was he like one of the Chips replacement dudes or something?
I believe that was Coy Duke, one of the backup Duke boys.
Okay, that's.
No, I don't know if that's true either. It kind of looks like
but it was. He was like 70s dude, TV show, something or other.
He might have been false John from Chips, like you're saying. It's one of those deals. Or
remember, like they got too highfalutin and wanted to be paid a reasonable amount, and they said you're replaceable.
Well, you get. Okay, if you're on Chips and it's supposed to be like you and your partner, but your partner's Punch, so therefore every episode is Punch-centric and you're suddenly just the other guy, you get kind of pissed.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like if you're on MASH and you're like, it's about both of us, but the other guy's Alan Alda.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm out of here.
You're born as a problem.
Right. It's a very sad situation. So they go down into the swamp. I keep saying the swamp. They go down the sewer. And of course, the young 21 guy, it's my first day on the force, killed by the crocodile. But Robert Forster sees it, but nobody believes him. Are you kidding me? What have you been smoking, Robert Forster?
Yeah.
Well, you've been finding like, body parts in the, but I guess the Kern River is a death trap, as we've soon learned.
It's all a death trap. They opened up a new park and put some of these like lakes in it, the little golf course lakes, and again had to put signs everywhere, not for swimming, because everybody shows up and then now their kids are swimming in like what is in a sense a polluted golf course lake.
Stagnant
and so the
swamp
signs
water.
that say keep your children out of the water as the children that didn't work, so they had to put like a little fence thing around it. People are ridiculous.
This is how they do in Bakersfield.
This is how we do it.
So his partner gets, and it's all kind of further evidence like you don't want to be partners with this guy, basically. This guy was hanging out with him for 10 minutes and he gets eaten by a crocodile. So don't be his partner anymore.
All right. So what was the name of the dude, the blonde partner? Ash?
Ash. I don't think it's Ash.
I'm trying to look him up.
Kelly?
Kelly. All right. I'm looking this biz up.
I think that's him. He was, if it's him, Perry Lang. We're like, stop. Usually we do this like later in the episode, but now we're all desperate to find out if he was on Chips back in 73. Something called Bay City Blues.
Is that like the spin-off of the Bay City Rollers?
He was on MASH ever so briefly. There you go.
Now I don't know who Ash is.
Yeah, he wasn't on any of these shows, by the way.
Yeah,
he was in 1941.
I saw 1941.
Not
whoever Ash was, I liked 1941. Whoever Ash was in the fog.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on.
All right. Moving right along.
Moving on with our lives. So what happens? He starts to go investigate on his own, and he goes to talk to the pharmacist because they found like a big like poodle right? The remains of like a giant, like a dog that's way too big for its
It was a
size.
Lasso Apso.
That's what it was. That's what it was. And a woman goes to identify her dog, and she's like, "Well, it looks like it, but it's much too big. Here's the
Well, then
sweater
it's not
that I
your
used to wear."
dog.
Right.
Then it's not your dog.
How about that? Exactly. Why can't that just be the explanation? No, it's got to be there's been some crazy hormones. But literally, just by going to go interview the
And
scientist.
now the police are investigating missing dogs.
Yes, they don't have anything better to
There's
do in
literally
Chicago.
nothing going on in Chicago.
But just questioning the scientist at the pharmacy gets him kicked off the force.
Yeah. I'm like, what? Isn't there like a union?
That's what I wrote that down. It's literally like, he's like, I'm gonna need your badge. You have your badge.
Like,
it's
for
like what?
He's like,
For-
okay.
I didn't go show up drunk waving my gun around. I literally just asked him a couple questions. Now you're off the force. It's like, really? Okay. Thanks for nothing. Help yourself to evidence. I wrote down something. I don't even know what's going on. So the gator, they eventually seal up the sewers, right? And they drive, like, have the SWAT team walk through all the sewers, I guess.
Right.
Try to flush the crocodile out.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
And again,
and they're like, okay. And
this
all
is-
the police equal 5 people.
And this is Chicago-ish. I mean, how many miles of sewers would there be? How many miles of sewers could they be? They obviously don't find anything. But the alligator smashes up through the concrete and is the slowest moving thing in the world. So a cop gets out of his car and is laying on the ground for, I swear to God, 10 minutes as the alligator slowly ambles towards him.
Exactly.
Slowly comes toward. It's like you could have gotten up 15 times by now. And then basically jumps into the alligator's mouth.
Crawl inside.
It was a sad situation, but the alligator's now out and about. And at one point, the alligator climbs into like just a swimming pool, and there's a birthday party for like children, and they make this kid walk the plank, basically on a diving board. They're playing pirate or something, and did not notice a 35-foot alligator in the pool. Now, granted, it's not something you would look for automatically, but it's freaking huge. You're not going to miss this
It's
thing.
a swimming pool.
Yes.
It's clear. You can see what's at the bottom of a pool.
Absolutely. So they push the kid basically into the alligator's mouth, which was kind of shocking to me. I'm like, really? They're going to push this? They're going to kill this kid?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's all ding dong daddy-o.
Well, you figure there are going to be moments where it's like, kind of like, are they going to do it? Like the tension, but then the kid will be saved at the 11th hour.
I mean, there's so much ridiculousness. First of all, I don't care how big the alligator is. He's not breaking through, the concrete.
Up through the road.
He's climbing. First of all, he's climbing up, what, the ladder? Is it climbing up the ladder, or is it jumping up like a rocket?
Yes.
How is it getting up there?
He's basically a giant prairie dog. He just digs right up. Right through.
Which is ridiculous.
Yes.
And alligators are slow.
Yep.
They're not chasing you down. In the wild, they have like the surprise attack. So they can jump forward and grab you, and then they have to pull you in and do that spinny thing. But they're not chasing you down the street.
Well, not this one. That's for damn sure. It was literally a brisk walk would get you to safety.
It's
slow
all
as hell.
ridiculous. Or that dude could have just stayed in his effing car. Is that gator going to swallow the car too?
It was big enough to. Sweet Jesus.
And that's the other thing. It seems to randomly change size depending on if they're using like a dummy or whatever freakish stuff they're using.
Right.
Early CGI. It wildly changes its size, I think.
Right. Well, okay. So he meets Robert Forster meets the top herpetologist who lives in the city, thankfully. And I don't think they ever actually tell us this, but I think we know that her name is the same name as the little girl who bought the alligator.
Right.
And she still lives with her mom, and the mom is the same actress. But because it's been like 10 years later or whatever. So it's a
so
she's
now
different.
She's 17.
So now she's 17, but the top herpetologist. And they immediately strike up. First, she's like, it's impossible for an alligator to live in the sewers here. And gives a litany of reasons why. Which makes sense. It's like, yes. She's like, it's too cold down there. There's not enough food.
It is effing Chicago. But I talked to, I sent a message to a friend of mine who used to work in like the, I don't know, sewer processing thing. And he says it's possible. They said up in Santa Cruz, they get like these giant carp.
Oh, God.
Giant carp.
I don't know this story.
Uh-huh.
The giant, terrifying goldfish.
She says there's sanitary sewers and storm sewers. So theirs were like the storm sewers. And those like pour in from the rivers. But there's reports, like sent me a picture of an actual alligator that they found in New York.
I think that's bull. I think that's baloney. I don't think that could happen. Like, New York gets really cold.
Yeah.
I mean, so does Chicago. I mean, if it snows on the rig, if every winter there's snow on the ground, then a crocodile or an alligator couldn't live in that environment. It'd be way too cold. And they also talk about how, like, there's methane gas down in there, which would asphyxiate any living creature. That chemicals and just things that make it inhospitable.
All these sewer gator in New Jersey, 1907. Bronx River alligator hunt in Bronx River thrill police. 2 reptiles slain. Bronx River lair. Boy reports swarms. At least 2, maybe 3 in the water. A 36-inch specimen dead.
A 3-foot freaking alligator shot to death?
Shot to death by 40 officers. And then it shows those ads. Live baby gator, $1.50, safe delivery guaranteed.
Yeah. That was a thing. It was absolutely a thing that people would get.
No, here's one, 1935, the Harlem gator, an 8-foot gator lassoed in a Harlem sewer.
Not shot to death?
There's a photograph of it. Here's another one. Brooklyn, clearly exhausted tropical visitor. 4-foot alligator captured in the East River. There's page after page. And
so it's real then, I guess.
There ain't no gators in my sewer, says Teddy May, a city sewer official who saw the gators himself. So I don't even know what the fuck that means.
So he was having a stroke when he said, I'm looking at gators, but I don't see any gators.
And to Leave It to Beaver, the kids buy in Boy's Life magazine. And then it rolls right over to 1980. Alligator, the mutant.
There you go. This is important.
There's a lot of conflicting stories about this.
Who are we to believe? There's a lot of fake news dealing with alligators living in frozen temperatures.
Yeah, who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes?
You can't hide your lying eyes. So he starts a romance with this woman.
Oh my God.
And it's the weirdest romance because they're like having dinner ostensibly to talk about the evidence or, what should we do? And it quickly becomes like a date where he's like, basically, is this a full service date? Can I get some loving now? And then he gets pissed at her and storms out.
Oh my God.
It was the most bizarre.
I'm like, dude, who are you trying to be? First, he's trying to put on like a Dirty Harry vibe because, of course, he's the touch of death where every partner is always killed.
Yep.
Like and then the creepiest part is after the post-sex when now I have to bear all and let's roll over and have the death talk and oh my God. I'm fighting male pattern baldness, all my partners, my insecurities. It's all of these like 70s movies. Like if you date a cop or if you date Al Pacino, if you're dating any of these cops, they all are tortured.
Serpico,
Exactly. Let's boink and then let me just lay open the ravages of my dysfunctional life. I would be running.
And the rule of thumb is if she hasn't noticed your male pattern baldness this far, then don't even go there. Just say a silent prayer,
let
thank
it
you, and
go.
move on.
Let it go.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Because she says, at one point she says, he's like lamenting, his life or whatever. And she's like, oh, I understand. And he's like, hey, don't understand me so well. And then storms out. It's like, what?
No one even knows what that means, dude.
What the hell?
Have another drink.
Right.
There was a lot of Schlitz malt liquor. Let me put that drunk in
you
this.
You gotta have the Schlitz.
That was my college drink of choice, man. You get a pitcher for $3. Good old Schlitz.
A pitcher of Schlitz from Memory Lane. What was that place called?
Toby and Jack's. No. What are you talking about?
Melody Lane
from Jennifer 8. Yeah.
Yes. Oh God. So I'm trying to think. So I kept wondering, how old is the herpetologist? Because she is the expert, but she still lives at home with her mom.
Right.
It's a bizarre situation. You can tell there's a bit of an age difference, but I mean, I'm starting to wonder how big of an age difference is there.
Exactly. Are you my daddy?
Right. And then he goes and kind of like throws himself at like her mercy, and she quickly forgives him.
Oh my God, they were hanging on each other like they were 17 years old.
Yes.
It was freakish. They're just dysfunctional to begin with. They're a perfect match.
So later in the movie, they hire a big game hunter,
Henry Silva,
because the cops are struggling.
Okay, first of all, do big game hunters hunt alligators?
I mean,
she's a herpetologist. She should be the expert. Why didn't they get like whoever the Tiger King is for gators?
The Gator King?
But the guy who hunts lions and elephants, I'm not sure if he's going to understand sewers and alligators.
And he hires some like local toughs to be his porters? Like he's Alan Quartermain or somebody? It was so ridiculous. It's like they're back in the safari.
So ridiculous.
And racist. Horribly racist. It was like
he pays some kids with a 6-pack of Schlitz to come into the sewer with him.
Right, to carry his stuff, basically, to be his water bearers or whatever.
I mean, it's literally the kids, as we used to do back in the day. Hey, mister, will you get us some beer? Hey, mister.
Right. Good time.
So they're like high school kids.
Right.
Oh my God.
So then it's like he goes down an alley and the kids won't follow him because they're smart. And again, this is a 35-foot alligator. It's like, how does it hide? So they have to have this alley just filled with trash. There's piles of just detritus everywhere so that this gator can basically pop out from underneath some boxes or trash cans or something. Because otherwise, it can't hide. It's too big. So it's just sitting there.
It's so stupid.
Oh, sweet. So
how does it bury itself in the garbage?
Burrows in the garbage. Big Game Hunter Joe walks all the way down, gets as close as he possibly can to the garbage, and then again, alligator pops out. He basically just jumps in the alligator's mouth.
And then said Tough comes along and picks up the gun to shoot the gator to save him, but there's no bullets in it.
Right.
What the hell was that?
Right, because I think it was like a single shot rifle.
That seems like a poor
after every shot. Yes,
that seems like a poor choice.
Bad choice. So goodbye, Big Game Hunter. It's a sad situation.
Ciao, ciao.
No, the thrilling conclusion is the gator's on its way to the wedding.
Yes, because the gator is now psychic and wants to wreak revenge for unknown reasons. All of a sudden, it takes his left turn. You're like, it's a freaking alligator.
Right.
Even though it's 90 feet long, it's got a brain like a pea.
Right.
So, and now it knows who the corporation is. It knows who made him so large. Why doesn't he go kill Crazy Girl's father if he's got all the psychic powers?
Right.
So it decides to ride up a river and crash a wedding.
Well, because it was the pharmacy. Basically, I guess the town is run by the head of the pharmaceutical company. He's got the mayor in his pocket.
The drooling dude.
The old man owns the mayor, and that's why they kick. He pressures the mayor, who pressures the chief of police to fire Robert Forster for daring to ask any questions. So they're
so
the
stupid.
bad guys, I guess. So yeah, the gator goes
How
to
does
the
the
wedding.
gator know that? How does the gator know that?
We don't ask these questions. It makes no sense. And it's just pops out. And again, it's that thing where it's like Robert Forster and the doctor are racing through town to get to the wedding in time.
After Robert Forster, we forgot this part, is fired, he just takes a backpack into the unlocked evidence room and just fills it up with shit.
I wrote that down. Help yourself to evidence.
That's how it works. I'm going to handle this myself. Well, why didn't you just handle it before? Then we wouldn't have had any problems. Mr. Handle it. Because he also knew where the gator was going.
That's correct. Well, there was a bizarre scene earlier in the movie where some guy goes into the police station with a fake bomb strapped to his chest. It was like a Casio like digital readout on his chest.
Oh yeah, so stupid. He's like a bomber.
But it wasn't. It was fake. He was basically just a crazy person.
With the fake Larry Wilcox.
Larry Wilcox.
Well,
it was basically like a tape recorder or something. Some 1970 era tape deck strapped to his chest. But I guess, when he goes to steal the evidence, Robert Forster, he needs that digital readout to set the bomb, I guess, to destroy the gator is the plan. Sweet Jesus. The scene at the wedding is hilarious because it's a lot of like tail whip. Somebody gets whipped with the tail and then flies through the wedding cake. And again, this thing is moving slow as hell. So there's a lot of there's a scene where
walk away from it. Walk away from it. Don't walk to it. Don't lay down in front of it.
Do not lay down in front of it.
Don't crawl into its mouth.
Do not. The evil pharmaceutical guy gets into his limo, closes the door. The mayor is banging on the door. Let me in. Let me in. Let me in. That goes on for 10 minutes while the alligator slowly makes its way over there. Why didn't they drive away?
No one knows.
No one knows. So the gator gets their time, eats the mayor, destroys the limousine, and kills the old man. Again, they could have been 30 minutes away by the time the alligator arrives, but it's a horror story.
It makes no freaking sense.
People like jumping into the pool because there's a pool at the wedding as well.
That's what I would do if an alligator was coming. I would jump in the pool. Just like if a shark was coming for me, I'd cover myself in blood.
That's what you do. And I literally wrote revenge ? Because like you said, what is the revenge?
Yeah.
That the alligator wasn't mistreated by anybody. I guess by that father way back when we flushed him down the toilet, but
why does he go get him?
Right. It makes no sense. This time it's personal for what?
This time it's personal for no apparent reason.
For delivering sweet food into the sewer every couple of days?
They're feeding you. That's right. You should celebrate them.
Oh, God. But yeah, so they race to the wedding. And I kept thinking, what is their plan? Once they get there, what are they going to do? Jump into the alligator's mouth as well? I mean...
It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Sweet Jesus. There was some guy walking around wearing a robe with a walker at the wedding for some reason. What are you doing?
I saw that right in the background for no apparent reason. What the hell?
Was he just somebody who happened to be like in the neighborhood who happened to just walk across set? Or what
he escaped. We don't know.
Oh, sweet Jesus. So then they decide that they blow up the alligator in the nick of time because it goes back into the sewer. I guess because it's eating everybody on Earth now, so it's back in the sewer.
Chicago's like a ghost town. It's like the nature has reclaimed it. There's tumbleweeds rolling across.
It's basically 12 monkeys.
It's 12 monkeys.
So he sets the dynamite and he's trying to climb up through the manhole, and of course a car just parks on the manhole at the wrong moment for no reason.
Good reason. Yeah.
He gets out just in time, wearing a gas mask for some reason. Who's to say why?
Yeah, there is enough explosives. You think there was an A-bomb down there, not 4 sticks of dynamite.
Yeah, it was basically Fat Man and Little Boy going off in the middle of the sewers. And then the grand reveal is like there's some baby gators are found. But are baby gators immune from explosions?
Yeah, we don't understand. That makes no sense. You see a blinking eye. And the baby gators are just magic gators because don't it take two? It takes two, baby.
Yeah. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions. Sweet Jesus. Any other bizarro scenes you want to talk about?
No. But the one thing that I saw is somebody had a I'm a Pepper shirt on that made me laugh.
Oh, it's a classic.
I'm a Pepper, you're a Pepper, we're a Pepper. She has this wiener hat that they gave away at some event, and it just says, I like wieners.
Okay. Good times. Are you ready for...
Why hasn't Dr. Pepper brought back the I'm a Pepper?
And bring back David Naughton as well to sing it, right?
He's a Pepper for sure.
For sure. Shall we go behind the scenes? Are you ready?
Oh, please.
Ramon! The oft-malfunctioning animatronic alligator used in the film was later donated to the Florida Gators as a team mascot.
Oh, how funny.
And they'd bring it out before games and during halftime.
Okay.
Very good.
That's
fans would jokingly jump in its mouth. No, they would not. Robert Forster improvised a joke about his thinning hair, and John Sayles was so delighted that he wrote 3 more jokes about it.
And John Sayles, behind the scene, is, of course, the director, writer of my favorite movie in the whole wide world, The Secret of Rowan Inish. But I understand that people have mortgages that need to be paid.
I was reading about him. He basically did these kind of movies like Piranha, The Howling, to pay the bills so that then he could do his more serious work, basically, is what it was. So he's got a checkerboard of a career, to say the least.
Yeah, he's got some highs and he got some lows.
The shot of the SWAT team emerging from the sewers looked so real that people actually thought they were terrorists and called the police.
Ah,
good times. Let's see. Originally, the original script, it was set in Milwaukee and explained that the alligator grew gigantic because of beer from a brewery going down to the sewers.
Uh-oh.
They changed it.
It just had a giant beer gut. It didn't really get bigger. It just had a fat belly.
That's
from all that Schlitz.
It's like Strange Brew. Just like, okay, obviously the movie's meant to be a ripoff of Jaws, and just like Jaws, the creature malfunctions so often that they had to do other things. Kind of that point of view shot.
But unlike Jaws, it was bullshit.
I find this movie, we're going to talk about this later, I find this movie a delight.
It is amusing.
It is a delight.
It makes no effing sense, but it is amusing.
We're ripping it to shreds, but it is not total horseshit. It's fun, is what it is. It's
you can watch it on Halloween with the family.
Absolutely, and I showed some scenes to the family earlier. I loved it.
Yeah, you showed scenes to the family earlier. You loved it.
That's true. They did,
and their response was,
they flipped me off and cursed my name. Bryan Cranston worked as a production assistant on this in the special effects department.
Oh, how funny!
Yes, and that's how he met Robert Forster.
He's been everywhere, done everything.
Yes. So they met working on this movie. Obviously, Robert Forster was the star of the show, where he was just a production assistant. They later worked again years and years later on Breaking Bad. So there you go.
I don't remember Robert Forster being in Breaking Bad.
He was on a few episodes where he was the guy you gave money to, and then he would kind of smuggle you out and get you set up in a new life.
Oh.
He worked at the vacuum cleaner store.
Okay, now it's starting to come together.
The alligator's first victim is a sewer worker named Edward Norton, which is an homage to
The Honeymooners?
The Honeymooners!
Or Edward Norton, who would have been a child.
That's correct. It was, yes. Robert Forster was recovering from a case of spinal meningitis when the principal filming began. So there you go.
That's no bueno.
Let's see. They make a point of saying that those earlier scenes take place in like 1968 because there's like on the radio they're talking about the Democratic National Convention in Chicago.
Right, and the riots and all that.
Right.
For no apparent reason.
For no reason. Joe Dante was offered the job of director but turned it down. He said tanks, but no tanks.
Interesting. Or is it?
Or exactly. These are good questions. This is the first of 2 movies where Robert Forster's character mentions his hair loss and how he's making up for it. Do you know what the second movie is?
Alligator 2?
Alligator 2. No, it's Jackie Brown.
Oh.
There's kind of a scene where he's talking to Pam Grier about how, I used to feel uncomfortable about it, but then I did something about it kind of thing. If you didn't know what he's talking about, you're like, what?
But I will tell you, they had the Ron Popeil hair in a can even then.
Yeah, I don't know if that's helpful if you have like no hair. You just spray it right on your flesh.
It has like little fibers in it because it came in all kinds of colors. It came in like silver and white, so I would buy it from time to time just to spray it into my hair. But it had these weird fibers. So basically, the idea is if you can't see your pink scalp shining through your black hair.
Interesting. Let's see. The herpetologist, Marissa, never actually sees the alligator during the course of the movie.
Well, it's so important that they brought her in, though.
Wah, wah, wah. Let's see. I think that's about it. Anything else we want to know? No, I don't give a damn about any of this.
No.
Good times. Moving on with our lives. Should we talk about the cast?
Let's talk about the cast. I
Robert
thought we already
Forster,
did.
we did kind of. He plays David. He was obviously known for Jackie Brown. Olympus Has Fallen, which is actually a better movie. The Black Hole, Disney's first live action
After
movie.
Jackie Brown, I have no idea what any of this stuff you're talking about.
He did a lot of good stuff. He was in Me, Myself, and Irene with
Lord.
Jim
I did
Carrey.
see that. I did see that.
Marissa was played by an actress named Robin Riker, and her number one thing is Alligator.
Oh,
but I remember her briefly because she was on this show that I thought was so hilarious in the late 80s, early 90s called Get a Life with Chris Elliott.
Oh my God. I used to love that show. I thought it was genius.
She was Chris Elliott's buddy Shrew's wife. He always had problems with.
Right. Oh
Yeah.
my God, I love that. His parents never were dressed. They were always in their bathroom, sitting at the kitchen table, day or night, drinking coffee.
That is correct.
That show was genius.
Chief Clark was played by Michael V. Gazzo, who was in Godfather 2.
Yeah.
Big thing.
And I swear I remember him in other stuff. When I look at his list, it must be just such an impression on Godfather 2 that I assumed that he worked on every mafia movie in the world. But no.
Not so much.
So
Dean
much.
Jagger played the evil pharmaceutical head, Slade. You know him from White Christmas, 12 O'Clock High, Vanishing Point, Game of Death. He's been in a ton of stuff. This is actually his last
Game of
movie
Death.
with Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Yep. Ton of stuff. We talked about Henry Silva as Colonel Brock. You know him from Manchurian Candidate.
Sharky's Machine.
Of course, Sharky's Machine with Burt Reynolds.
Yep.
Above the Law with, oh crap, what's his name? Steven Seagal. He was in Code of Silence with Chuck Norris. By the 80s, he was just like, where do I sign?
Yeah.
Show me the money, and I'll show up on set, basically is what it is.
He was good at Sharky's Machine, though.
He was a creepy, like, assassin brother of the gangster, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I think that pretty much is every role that he does.
Right. Sharky's Machine with young Rachel Ward as well. It's an all-star cast. Good time. Shall we talk about the rating? Are you ready for this? Are you ready?
Okay. And I feel like I give everything the same rating.
80% on Rotten Tomatoes. 80%.
Ay. And yet, that makes no sense to me. Because what was Hard Candy? Like a 60%?
Right. Roger Ebert did not like it.
Well, because Roger Ebert and I were usually simpatico.
Roger Ebert said, I suggest a plan. Why not try flushing this movie down the toilet to see if it grows into something big and fearsome?
Oh,
Wah, wah, wah. Very sad. He's like the one top critic who didn't like it. Vincent Canby from the New York Times liked it.
Oh my God.
Also, the Variety staff liked it. So there you go. They love it. What's not to love is what I say.
What's not to love? All right, here I come. I'm coming up with it. I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 Ron Popeil hair in a cans for Robert Forster, only because of its campy nature. It's silliness, it's nonsense.
I'm going to give it 3 out of 4 oversized poodles going into the crocodile's mouth.
It was a lasso opso.
Lasso opso. I found it hilarious. I found it fun. It's by no means, it's ain't Shakespeare. You're not going to sit down and be like, hey, I'm sitting down to watch Alligator. Why is there not more Shakespearean prose? That's not what you're going to get.
I think we should put out that it's only available bootleg on YouTube.
That is correct.
We tried to find that's a mark of quality.
Yes, the only way it can be watched, and frankly, the way it was meant to be watched, is on YouTube.
A vaguely fuzzy, slightly out of focus version on YouTube.
That is correct.
That's a mark of quality. Mark of quality.
But it's not, and I don't know if it's just because it's on YouTube. It's not gruesome or grisly at all. You know what I mean? You could literally sit down and watch this with the whole family.
As I said, it has a made-for-TV, very special event quality to it.
I mean, I just want rated R, but I wonder why. Why would it be rated R?
You have to remember, it was rated R from the old ratings before there was PG-13.
Violence and gore, severe. Including
there was
blood. Leg is bitten off. A little kid who's eaten. We see him in the alligator's jaws and blood rising to the surface of the water, and a man's legs are bitten off. The wedding massacre at the end shows many people being swatted by the alligator's tail and covered in blood when it mauls them.
That's a hard R.
That's a hard R. The alligator graphically blows up at the end. But it's like mild profanity, mild alcohol, moderate fright.
It's right up there with The Exorcist, so prepare yourself.
Many scenes take place in sewers, all of which are very creepy.
Oh, did I tell you my sewer experience?
Wait a minute. The main character has a weird dream. That's a frightening and intense sequence.
A weird dream or a wet dream?
Either one. Go ahead.
So I did a sewer tour. And, I went to Vienna, and there's a sewer tour because there's this movie, this old black and white movie called The Third Man.
Yes.
So
yes.
It takes place in Vienna, and some of the landmarks. So at one point they're chasing what's his name, Orson Welles, through the sewers.
Yeah.
So now they have a Third Man sewer tour, and let me just tell you, you had to wear a hard hat, you had to climb down, and sewers smell.
I wonder why. Do you want me to knock your socks off?
Lay it on me.
In one of the sewer scenes, there's graffiti on the wall.
Yes.
And do you know what it says on the wall? The Third Man.
Oh, I missed that. I did notice some graffiti, but I missed that. That's interesting. So there was a little homage there.
It was an homage.
Very nice. Very nice.
So there you have it. Thank you very much. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. You can email us, The Podcast That Wouldn't Die at Gmail. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc., and Spotify. Aaron, you are on social media. What's the word?
The Cult of Aaron on the Twitsker and on the Insta.
Snapchat. QAnon.
Join the cult. The QAnon. Parlay. 2chan.
Two chains. Whatever you need. We're covered for you.
Boom.
So thank you very much and be well.
Later, people.